Hi guys, it's Vardha here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to create this gatefold card. On the front there is some design in a window that shows a sentiment. The sentiment is actually placed on the second panel with additional design. And then when you finally open the card, you open both the gates of the card, so to say. There is a little bit of design on the inside panel as well, where you're going to write your message. So usually, what we do when we want to create a gatefold card is that we create two identical A2 size cards and then we attach their backs together and let their fronts overlap so that it becomes like a gatefold. According to me, that wastes a lot of paper, cardstock, and I'm always about saving paper. So, here, what I'm trying to do is create just enough hinge, you can say, on one side. So my one panel is just 4.5 quarter, not the entire card base, and the other is a full card base. I'm going to attach them in a way that the 4.5 panel creates the hinge and then attaches itself on the inside of the card, sorry, on the inside of the card, and I will incorporate that little hinge in a decorative design for my overall gatefold card. So that's the idea here. What I'm trying to do for incorporating it in design is I have picked up an older Spellbinders die set. This is a bunch of different beautiful border dies, so to say. I have picked up the slimmest one, the narrowest one, and then on one side where I already created the hinge by scoring it, I die cut it, and just to make it even, just to make it seamless as part of that design, I'm also die cutting it on the other side. That way, the border on the inside doesn't look out of place. It's still part of the design, so to say. That has become like a catchphrase. I keep saying over and over, but yes, that border becomes part of the design on the inside. It will still be on the outside, and at the end, you will see how I add one more of it to have everything balanced up. So that's the idea here. That way, for the back of the card, one, you're not wasting paper by adding another full panel. Two, you're not adding bulk to your card. So if in case you want to mail it, then that is a little bit less weight than what you would have normally, less bulk, so to say. For my card to be able to close properly without having a bulge, I trimmed off a hair on the opposite side, and that's what you saw me do earlier. Now, what you see me do here is I'm planning my card front. I'm going to plan it in such a way that part of the sentiment is a window and it shows on the front side. But I also want to have placements planned for some of the additional parts of the sentiment that will show up when you open the first flap. So, when you open the first flap towards your left, the right gate will show up, and I want some hot foil sentiments on that panel, so to say, which will enhance my basic happy birthday sentiment. On the front of the panel, all I'm doing is die cutting just the borders or the outlines of the word happy birthday, like you see me here. And then I'm going to trace on the inside of this window, um, and plan and do the hot foiling on the inside, the second panel, so to say. So remember, when I did the die cutting, my die cutting machine is kept on the side and I could not take it in the camera, sorry. But remember, when you die cut something like this, you need to make sure you pass only the front panel. You don't want the entire card to go through and have a big window, big gaping hole, so to say. So remember to do that. Open the card, die cut only the front part of it, and then now next step what I'm doing is taping down my hot foil plates to have additional hot foil sentiment on the inside. So from the outside you will see happy birthday. When you open the first panel towards your left, you will see a card full of happy birthday wishes. So the banner, um, sentiment banner hot foil plate set that comes from Spellbinders has a lot of enhancing kind of words that can be hot foiled. It has full of sparkles and thanks and happy birthday and wish and confetti and so on and so forth. You can mix and match because not all words are together. So I picked up a plate that said a card, another that said full of, and then wishes. So I put a card full of on top of the happy birthday and then wishes at the bottom. That way, when you open the card, you will see a card full of happy birthday wishes. Next, it was time to create the hinge, which I did with the blue tape, and then add foil in between the plate and the paper. The Spellbinders actually has a foil cutting board. It's a proper board and the tool and everything. But I already have like two different cutting boards. I did not want to have one more. I only bought their foil cutting blades, which are really handy because with scissors I tend to struggle with cutting foil. It's a very flimsy material. I find that blade really handy, and I just place it inside my normal cutting board, use the foil blade, and then just cut it that way. So that's what I did. And next step is to create that hinge properly and sandwich my gold foil in between. I think the actual color name is champagne. I'll link to the supplies at the bottom in the description as well as in my blog post, so you can find out the actual colors and everything, um, wherever you check this out, wherever you check out this video. But that's what I'm doing here. um, to avoid extra foiling, this is another step I like to do. I like to remove additional foil as much as I can, and then I set it up for foiling. It's happening on the background. Meanwhile, what I had done was, these days I cannot do a lot of crafting myself, so all the steps I'm talking about, die cutting, foiling, the actual machine, my girls are helping me use that. So I had one of my girls help me with die cutting my peaches from the tiny from the set that is um, delicious decorations, and then I die cut the leaves from Petite Fleur Potpourri, I think it is called as, and I added a little bit of color there. By the time I was adding color, my card was hot foiled, and that's what I got. Couple fixes I did on it was with a paint pen, gold paint pen, and also sand eraser. Okay, so my hot foiling is done, my card, my embellishments are almost ready and inked up. Next step is to add a little bit of jars to the front, which I did by dry embossing. And then it was time to attach the sentiments. Off camera, I struggled a little bit with this. Off camera, I did put the shadow and the actual words together. Looking at the dies actually helped me place and plan, because each of these letters, they are separate, they are not together. So I struggled a little bit, but then I looked at the die that helped me place them exactly where they are supposed to be. And then for adhering them, I just used some liquid glue, but I made sure that I planned them from the front of the panel. So I'm actually using the front window to make sure I adhere it on the second panel. That that way it is exactly precisely positioned and no guesswork there. I think most of the card at this point is ready. All that is left to do is add all those peaches and flowers, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm adding the vines. I have added a little bit of color on top of it. You'll see them in the detailed photos. I added a little bit of color to the peaches because that's how they look. They have like two or three different colors going on, the peach fruits. I originally did add color to the flowers, but then I gave up because I wanted something to be pure white, just like the happy birthday word itself is pure white. So I swapped them for just pure white flowers, and I use liquid glue, sorry, all throughout, to attach all my tiny little peaches and flowers, and then added a bunch of gems on top. I cannot do without bling. It's really hard for me to create masculine cards, and something that has no bling, it's really, really hard. It's a struggle, I tell you. So in this case, originally I thought maybe I'll leave it without any bling. I just I just didn't feel that the card was complete. So I had to go and add all the diamonds or all the gems, sparklies on top of it. Sorry, I've got something in my throat today. Sorry about that. But what you see me do here is add bunch of those flowers, peaches, just arrange them on either side of the sentiment, and then I will do the same thing on the inside, where there are little bit of gaps or empty spaces on the entire sentiment, so to say. So I'll add a little bit of something on the second panel, um, a sprig of peach and then few flowers. Um, Another thing that I often like to do is, if the die cut is like a leafy vine that has multiple leaves, I'll use them by even cutting some of the parts and use them separately. So that's what you see me do. I had the whole leafy branch or vine or whatever you want to call it. I cut off parts of it and then I used it separately, just to get more out of the same design. In fact, the one I'm sticking just now, that was a mistake. It did not cut properly. But I managed to salvage part of the vine and it still works. So I just added it as it is and added a flower to hide the little discrepancy, so to say. So that's what I did over here. The glue that I'm using is worth mentioning. I like to use multimedia matte because that dries clear. I want to explore new glues that have come up in the market that also potentially dry clear and don't clog. The only issue I have with multimedia matte is that even if it is that tiny whole bottle, it still clogs, and I have to pause the video in between just to get my glue working. So if you guys have any good suggestions where the glue does not clog, is able to go as fine as possible and rise clear, I would love to know. Just let me know in the comments below. I would love to know what your recommendation is and I'll try something like that. Can't do without blame. So that's what is going on there. Okay, so that finishes the card front. In the inside also I did the same thing. And then I had that border on one side. I cut off one more border and I added it. Somehow my camera didn't record all that, but here is the final look at the card. Yes, the inside also has bling. Can't do without bling. Sorry. And then there is border on both sides. So that's how the whole card looks. That's how it comes together. I hope you like this idea and will give it a try. All supplies will be listed in the description box below. And while you're here, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. I sincerely appreciate your support of my channel. Thank you so much and see you next time.